Recording. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Planet FPL, the world where everything revolves around the politics of football. My name's Suj.
And my name is James.
And today we're going to talk about money.
Money, money, money.
How are we all? Hope everybody's doing well. We had a glorious weekend in, I'm going to say most of England, because I don't actually know what the weather was like all around the country, James, but it was definitely a very nice weekend down in London, and I think we needed it. I think it just needed to lift people's spirits a little bit.
Yeah, I opened the curtains. What about you?
I mean, if you've got a garden, obviously, it's a lot more helpful than if you haven't.
I don't.
There were plenty of people that were out sunbathing and stuff, which they shouldn't have been, but you know that's how it goes.
Some people just don't get the message, do they?
No.
It's staggering, but there you go.
The
sooner we all comply, the sooner we'll be out of this.
Yeah, and I mean, there have been indications that it might be a little bit sooner now. I mean, things are getting worse, but they're not to the extent of America, for example, and what have you. So.
No, I think Italy had their first day with. It's kind of flattened, doesn't it, a little bit? Mm-hmm. Yesterday was the first day. It wasn't a rise in losses.
ICU and stuff and that. Yeah, so touch wood, fingers crossed, praying for everyone, all that kind of stuff. And the show goes on. Another podcast, another Monday.
And another Sunday with someone who wants to do things that they maybe shouldn't.
Footballers, just don't put tweets out that you know are going to bite you in the bum around telling people to social distance. Maybe bite in the bum is a bad I should use. Maybe that's what he was paying for, who knows. Oh dear, this is going to descend into farce, I can tell already.
Well, at least unlike Jack Grealish, that Kyle Walker actually waited a couple of weeks from his original tweet saying, "Stay home, everyone, you know what to do."
But he did stay home.
Well, yeah, he did stay home, but he had people around his house that, I mean, whether you agree or don't agree with what he had around his house, it's a different conversation, isn't it?
Are you implying, based on who he had around his house, that he didn't social distance then?
I'm implying that hookers might be the sort of people who are likely to have the disease at the moment. Is what I'm implying.
Oh dear, that's half our listeners gone, James. Oh dear. So I mean, look, if there is no football yet. Over the last 4 days, football hasn't left the news at all. There's, I suppose, a number of stories that have been in the news around the Premier League's announcement of the financial implications of voiding the season. These numbers of 740 million pounds if they void the season. Players' wages is obviously a really, really hot topic at the moment in terms of the non-playing staff being furloughed and directors, chairman, players still picking up pretty hefty pay packets. And alongside that, obviously, Kyle Walker jumps into the mix as well.
Definitely jumped into the mix.
Where should we start?
Well, I did this whole furloughing thing, I think. I spoke about what Spurs had done very briefly on my stream on Friday, and I had an opinion. I mean, I'm obviously not in agreement with the fact that there's 550 non-playing staff that have been furloughed. I don't agree with the idea that Tottenham need the money from the government. I did think that it was a move from Daniel Levy to try and put pressure on the players themselves to come forward and say, okay, no, this is not right. We need to take pay cuts, which I think is still ongoing discussion. We should give the players some sort of time. I think everybody's of the opinion that players obviously need to take some sort of reduction in their wages, be it to help government, direct to NHS, help their clubs, whatever. You can't compare the size status of, say, Spurs with Bournemouth or Burnley, for example. So each has their own individual case. And then we obviously had Liverpool have done the same, which I think staggered people because Liverpool would be at the top of the list of clubs that you just wouldn't expect to do that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And I think all the goodwill of, have the title and all that anyway has been a bit, well, hang on a minute, you don't need to do that. And Tottenham don't either. I mean, Spurs' case is very unique because they need to obviously pay for the stadium and stuff. But it just feels like it's something that's putting pressure on the players. And I feel that the players are trying to get something done together and will make it right. Just think like the PFA and all that are just getting in the way, man.
Let's just summarise the situation. We have a bunch of listeners outside of the UK. #1 football podcast in Ghana. Don't forget, James.
That's us.
We do have a number of listeners outside of the UK, and just to give them a summary of the situation might be helpful in 60 seconds. When the lockdown started a couple of weeks ago, there was a big issue in the UK where if a lot of businesses shut down or have to shut down, then a lot of people are going to lose their jobs. And we've already seen the number of people losing their jobs increase, not to the rate that, take America now, nearly 1 million more unemployed people in the space of 4 weeks. The economy isn't going to be able to handle it, right? We've seen the situation here in my own business here where we work together. I'm happy to share the numbers on that. But the problem was that if the government didn't do anything, you were going to end up with a lot more unemployed people. So they put a scheme out, they rolled a scheme out. Rather than fire staff, rather than let people go, we'll pay 80% of their wages for 12 weeks, 3 months, and you keep them employed so that they don't have to lose their jobs. Touch wood, in 12 weeks, everybody reopens, business back to normal, and we come out of this. Now, if it goes on longer than 12 weeks, for example, the government has said they'll potentially extend it even further as well. But the goal of the whole furlough scheme was, if there's no work for your staff, don't fire them, just send them home and we'll pay 80% of their wages for 12 weeks so that people didn't lose their jobs. The scheme is a very, very good scheme, in my opinion, that helps a lot of people. So these 5 football clubs, I think it's Newcastle, Liverpool, Tottenham, Norwich, and is it Bournemouth? I think it's one other.
Might have been. I know obviously Eddie Howe's taken a voluntary cut as well.
I think it's 5. There's five clubs. I know 4 definitely. I forget the 5th off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure it's Bournemouth. Have furloughed non-playing football staff. And it makes complete sense, right? If you take a business like the one I run, our cost each month is give or take 120 grand. Half of that is payroll, is people. So if we have no money coming in, what's the biggest cost that we have is human beings, right? So to be able to not have to pay people and the government step in and help is a massive, massive help. So the scheme is very good. And there's actually, none of the clubs have done anything illegal, right? This is not a question of, are they breaking the rules in any way? If there's no work for the staff, rather than fire them, furlough them. I think this question has come up as a moral question. And the numbers that I've heard thrown about, where Spurs is a prime example, they've thrown a lot of numbers about. Last year, Spurs made a 60 million profit, if I'm correct. It's either 40 or 60 million. Daniel Levy's picking up a £7 million paycheck, salary each year. And the cost of the furloughed staff for that 12 weeks is £1.5 million. So the money that's coming from government and which is taxpayer funded, I think it comes down to a moral question of, should somebody who's making so much money go for a handout when there's other people that are more needy of it? So I've actually got no problem. If you could, rather than sack your staff, furlough them, no problem at all. But I think the moral question here is, should you not just have enough money because you're making 40 million a year to find £1.5 million rather than take it from the government, trying to help small businesses and other companies that are going to lose a lot of money in this time period? And that's where the big dilemma has come in. And it's like, for that much money, if you have your payroll for your playing staff, 40 million, just take £1.5 million out of that rather than go to the government who need to use that money for the NHS and fighting COVID, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I mean, the 1.5 million, I think, was part frustrating people is, that's Harry Kane's wages for 6 weeks or so. Harry Kane doesn't need the money, etc.
Yeah, like Spurs, Liverpool, they've done nothing wrong, but
but it's morally,
it's the morals, right?
It's exactly what you said. Spurs don't need that 1.5 million. The figure that I heard for Liverpool was only £250,000. Don't need that money, man. That's the point, isn't it?
They don't.
And obviously, it's our money essentially as taxpayers in the UK. Correct. And B, that money should be going into other resources. One of the things that I think is really holding up the idea with the players, and it's all right, your chap who was speaking loudly on Thursday, now Boris is all saying Premier League players should take a wage cut. They should be a little bit careful with that because nobody's paying more tax than Premier League footballers, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Like, seriously. So one of the arguments has been, one of the arguments has been, should they take the pay cut once the wage has gone to tax? So a Premier League footballer will never pay, I think it's 40% tax basically on the sort of money that they'll earn.
Yeah, I
So
mean, it
where
wouldn't
do you
surprise me
start
if
with the cut?
it wouldn't surprise me if they've got some schemes to try and get paid offshore and whatever. But yeah, so one of the news article in the BBC said, look, if the Premier League's voided and there's this 700 million loss or what have you, then just the tax element of it that the government would have picked up might have been a couple of 100 million, and that couple of 100 million could have gone to the NHS or what have you. So don't shoot yourself in the foot, kind of thing. Now there's a lot of players that like Gary Lineker was, come on, mate, give the players a chance. Wayne Rooney feels like they've all been left out to dry, and I do agree with them. The issue I have is always income inequality is one of the biggest problems in the world. Like the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. The gap between the two is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's capitalism for you, right? In this time, it's not the rich that are worried about the next 3 months' paychecks because they got it in savings. And so you would ordinarily want the rich to do more or people that are wealthy to do more. I think there's a lot of players that do a lot behind the scenes that get zero credit when they do that and get 100% of the shit when something like this happens. It doesn't sit right with me that everybody, all of these players are getting put in the same bucket, because it's not the case at all. I reckon there's tons of them that are doing a lot of good, but just don't get talked about.
Did you read this article that I sent you at the weekend?
The interview.
Yeah.
Yeah, I read quite a lot of it. I read 3/4 of it. I was just trying to figure out who it was.
Same. Yeah. So basically, there's one Premier League player. I forget the
I
journalist.
thought it was Mark Noble, is who I guessed.
A few people were saying that in the comments. There's supposedly an anonymous Premier League footballer who's on about 50 grand a week, which is, we have to say, is not going to be one of the elite top earners, who reckons he's not taken a penny off his Premier League club in the last 3 years. He just gives it all away. He's like, I've got enough money in the bank. I don't need any more. He's basically saying he's embarrassed to earn the money that he earns. And Premier League players could basically have their money completely suspended for 3 months and none of them would need it. I don't know if that's the case. It's very an opinion, but...
Yeah, I mean, I remember somebody once had a screen grab that was going around WhatsApp of Ruben Loftus-Cheek's bank balance.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, and he had like 5 million in his current account and 5 million in his savings account or something at the time.
It's like 20.
Yeah, it's incredible. Players earn what they earn because the market dictates it, right? You pay 1,500 quid a season to go and watch your Spurs. The sponsors come in and pay what they do, and the talent is what it's about. They have a very short career, 15 years at best. They make what they can. Some make a career after football. A lot don't and lose all their money. I don't begrudge them the money they make. I don't begrudge them. And if there was a way that the PFA could centralise and say to all the players, yeah, look, do you know what? It's optional, but if you want to stick 20% of your salary in, we've set this scheme up. Let's see how big we can make it. We wouldn't know which players were in, which players weren't. The PFA could literally say, right, we've set up a fund. In 2 weeks, we'll know how much money is in it. It'll probably get up to like a couple 100 million, and we'll give it to the NHS or whatever it needs doing. No one will point the finger at players at all. And whether players actually go into it or don't, we'll never know. But at least as a collective, they did something. Just it's PR and what have you.
They will do so. I think part of the problem is the average person will look at it, Suj, and go, let's just say hypothetically, and I don't know if this number is correct or not, but let's say average Premier League wage is £50,000 for a first player per week. Mm-hmm. Let's say 40% of that goes in tax. So you've got £30,000 a week left. Right. So what do you spend £30,000 on every week?
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem for the general person looking at it, right? You could buy a 10 grand car every week and you've still got 20 grand left. And you want to buy a house for £500,000, or let's even say $1 million.
5 million, mate.
Let's say $1 million, right? $1 million for a house or something, just a basic house for them. What's that? A year's worth with that spare 20 grand? Like, you can't even spend the money, man.
No, it's true. I always say there's only two types of people in the world, James. Not enough money and too much money. There's no one with the right amount. I've never met anybody that's got the right amount. It is difficult. It is very, very difficult. But it's capitalism. It's
I think players will do the right thing. It will come. Just give them some time. I think
Yeah.
it's murky with like agents as well, right? Because the agents are going to be in the ears going, no, don't take a wage cut. What about my salary, etc. Because the majority of 95% of them would be greedy bastards and just thinking about themselves. So I don't know. It's murky, isn't it? And each individual player, even amongst that, is going to have individual circumstance where he's paying X percentage to his agent versus Y for somebody else, etc.
Yep.
Bonuses, etc. There's so many things in a contract that many of us won't really understand. So I think it's murky. I think the right thing will happen. I think to go back to Daniel Levy was basically the first to say, right, yeah, the players are still getting 100%. He didn't say that in words, but it's what everybody could read between the lines. I think he was trying to put some external pressure on them to say, you need to step forward as players of this football club and make the right choices. So I think Daniel Levy knew he was throwing himself under the bus. He's not stupid. He knew exactly what he was doing. And I just feel it's there to put the pressure on the players, and touch wood, they're going to make that decision in the near course. Moving on to football a little bit. So there is a report today in The Athletic by a journalist, Simon Hughes, which suggests that UEFA are going to announce that there will be no deadline on the completion of this football season.
Interesting.
In other words, it gets finished when it gets finished.
Yes, but I don't think that means it gets finished when it gets finished. I think it just takes the pressure off having to make a decision on finishing it by the 30th of June or before the season was due to start in August or what have you. It's carried on for particularly another 4 or 5 months. There's still the chance that it will get voided, but I think it just takes the pressure of having to make a decision. A lot of us expected some more news or a decision at the back end of last week, but it didn't come, did it?
The feeling amongst people who are better in the know than us seems to suggest that they are working towards trying to complete the season behind closed doors in July/August.
Yeah.
That seems to be the feeling. And I know we've said this so many times over that a lot of people think we shouldn't even be having these discussions, but they've got to. There has to be a plan that goes into place to try and get it ready. We can't understate the fact that footballers are going to need a few weeks just to train and get back up and running as well. The finer details of this, where, when, how, why, there's been talk of all the games being shown live and many of them on terrestrial TV as well.
Yep.
Perhaps ones that weren't already selected for the TV, for example. The 3 o'clock blanket ban has been lifted by UEFA. I'm not sure why UEFA lifted that, because it's only us that has that rule anyway. So games can be shown at 3 o'clock. Obviously, it's not going to affect attendances in lower league, is there, if no one's going at all?
No.
So we're working towards a resolution, but nobody really knows what it is yet.
The general feeling coming out of the government and politics, and we've seen what's happening in Italy and Spain, is things are flatlining a little bit. I'm not an expert that I can comment on that kind of stuff, but it does feel like what we're doing is having some kind of impact. It's not skyrocketing and going exponentially out of control. Today, technically it was Monday 2 weeks ago that we announced a 3-week lockdown. So we're entering the final week, right? By the end of this week, we'd hopefully know whether we're coming out of lockdown next Monday or extended. I think it'll be extended.
I think that's a certainty, Suj.
At least until the end of April. But I think
so.
Extended. If things go at the rate they are, I don't think it'll be extended beyond the end of April. I think the end of April is an interesting cut-off point where it'll stop.
I think you might be an optimistic there, sir, as I know you regularly are.
Yeah, I'm a glass half full kind of guy. What can I say? But I'm in touch with that it does. We've got a very interesting Easter bank holiday weekend in a few days, right? Everybody gets
Who even knows it's Easter weekend?
It's 4 days off. Having had 4 days at home for most people anyway. But yeah, it'll be some interesting respite. And big up the Queen yesterday for her speech.
Well done, Madge, yeah.
I'm a fan of the Queen. I know there's people that'll be not royalists or whatever. I'm not a royalist or not. I just think the Queen, to do what she's doing still at 93 is just a ledge, man.
I bet she's staying indoors.
Yeah.
It's a given, no, I think.
So we've had a bunch of questions in.
Hold on. Before you go on to Twitter,
are we going to do Champ Manager first?
Yeah, of course we are. Don't You
Is
ain't
that
getting
because
out of it.
you're 66th or something?
I should be third. I'm annoyed about it a bit, but I can't complain that I've had a very good start in it. So,
Shall I tell you what happened on Saturday for me? You
go on.
me to tell me that the deadline was 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
And then I thought, you know what? Do I, don't I? Do I, don't I want to make a transfer? Shall I just roll it and then think about making 2 transfers in the following week? Knowing that there was a blank, right?
Yeah.
So I was leave it be. I ended up with only 7 players. And I got 37 points, pretty much all coming from Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank. So Henri saved me in game week 1. I have no idea what my rank is because I couldn't see it, but I've got...
You won't be in the top 1,000.
Now, I got 50 and then 37. So that's not great. But now I feel like I'm going to have a little bit more time to get into it. I may wildcard, James.
Well, it sounds like you might need to.
Why don't you tell me
so
what's happening, what's good, what's not?
Who have you got?
Load that flipping team up. So Schmeichel and Hislop are my 2 goalkeepers.
That's all right. They can stay.
Yeah, so come on. It's not sliding across.
Well, Suj is sliding across for those who don't regularly
Sol
listen.
Campbell in goal. Sol Campbell in defence.
I like you less.
William Gallas.
Yeah.
Olaf from Frozen in defence.
Melberg.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ian Hart and Paul Konchesky.
Yeah, it's not the worst. Go on.
My midfield is where I'm screwed, mate. Up front is Henri Hasselbank, Louis Sahar. Louis Sahar's got to go because he ain't doing nothing.
He ain't playing, mate.
No, so he's going to go. But my midfield, so Veron.
Yeah.
He ain't done nothing yet.
Yeah.
Lampard.
Yeah.
Kevin Nolan.
Yeah.
Keith Gillespie.
Yeah.
Rob Lee.
Wildcard, mate.
And get rid of who?
The majority of them.
So who's not played so far?
So Judas is injured and might not play this game week. Gallus missed game week 2, although I think he'll come back in. Melberg's all right. Konchesky's not been playing, although I've got a sneaky that he might get into that team, actually. Who was your other defender? Ian Hart is fine. Goalkeepers are okay. Louis Sahar's got to go. And you probably need a complete overhaul of that midfield. Rob Lee's not been playing.
Yeah.
Kevin Nolan's fine. It's going to be 2-2-2-2 or none, whether he does or doesn't play, basically.
Gillespie?
Not been playing.
Frank Lampard?
It's all right, but he's playing too deep for that Chelsea team, mate, at 8 million.
Right. And Veron, keep a hold of because he might do bits.
I think, as you haven't got Van Nistelrooy at the moment, if you're looking to stay with Henri, which is okay, then you should probably keep him. I think for those, I made the move to Van Nistelrooy before game week 2. I'm now looking again. If I don't go back to Henri, which I'm now beginning to think I'm not going to do, then Veron at 12 million for a player I'm never going to captain is monstrous. Because I'm never going to captain Veron over Van Nistelrooy. So I might be looking to move away. It's not the biggest fire for me. I'm more trying to work out someone just to replace Gillespie. You got Fulham and Liverpool blank this week. So Zaha wouldn't have played for you anyway this week, even if selected. And then game week 4, there's some doubles. So I think, just scrap it, Suj, and wildcard. That midfield needs an overhaul.
Yeah, but I've got 2 free transfers, so let's have a look at it. I might take a hit or 2. Do you know who I've noticed has scored a couple of goals because it's popped up on my time? One of your picks, Steve Malbrunk.
Yeah, he's done me well. I might sell him, by the way.
Okay, fair play.
Well, they're blanking, and I'm in a precarious position myself where obviously he's not going to play for me this week. I've got Gillespie who's not going to play. I've got Dabizas away to Chelsea, which I don't fancy. And then I've got Gallus who's not been playing. So I'll go with Gallus, but that's me. I'm working on the assumption I've got a full 11. Then my only backup is Dabizas away for Chelsea. So I was going to move Gillespie to Jack Robinson at Charlton at 4.5 with their double coming up and a good fixture in game week 3. But they've just bought Jason Wilcox, who you was looking at the start.
Yeah. And he's
5.5. So Jason Wilcox is a good shout. So I might even go like Malbronk to Wilcox, for example. Or I could go Malbronk to, say, Solano because I really like him at that value. So I haven't decided yet. I had decided I was going to go Jack Robinson, and then I watched Andy and Dave's stream last night talking about the game, and they revealed that Wilcox had gone to Charlton. I was like, put a cross through that. So, and need to have a think about it. But yeah, very pleased with the start that I've had overall.
How where do I go and see the match reports, or all the listeners, whoever, like, can I go and read what happened in every game last weekend, for example?
To an extent. So you're best off looking through the Fantasy Champ Man Twitter account. You can see all the player ratings, who's got bonus, etc. You'll take some time to read through their threads and that. Obviously, on the actual Google Sheets itself, gives you information on every player, appearances, etc., etc. But the key advice I would give is that stream of theirs 9:30 on Sunday nights. If you're playing the game, you have to watch it. Genuinely have to watch it.
So
it's a must.
A YouTube stream or a Twitter?
Yes, a YouTube. So Andy Martin, friend of the show, and Dave Simple Goal, they'll do their streams about an hour long or so, and they'll just literally go through every team.
Match of the day for this, basically.
Kind of, but it's more like the inner workings, which you can only really see if you're looking at them in the game. Like if any particular players are unhappy, what their fitness levels are like, etc.
Right.
You can't get that information anywhere else because we don't have access to their game. So those are the key ones. Then you've got some great people doing some great stuff on Twitter, like Whitebeard. I give a follow. He's set up a really cool spreadsheet where I think you can even drill into like minutes, etc. Luke from Scout, he knows the game inside out. He's done some great little threads in terms of who he thinks might be in team lineups, and that's really important in this. You can't be carrying people who are not playing, mate. So like your Rob Lees, Louis Sahars, they have to go on like now, mate. Take Rob Lee as Newcastle. They've got like Solano, Shearer, and Kieran Dyer's due back as well, and Rob Lee's not been playing anyway, so he's got to go. He's not getting minutes, mate. So he's just got to go. Sahar with the blank, he did look like a decent pick at the start, but again, he's got to go. It's imperative, at least until you get on the other side, so where you've got game week 4, where Charlton and Bolton have doubles, and then the fixtures ease a bit where there's no blanks as such for at least probably 5 or 6 weeks. You've got to have 15 playing players, mate. It's imperative, or you're just going to end up in that situation what you have. I've been very lucky with the picks I've had at the start, in the sense that I only missed basically Gillespie in game week 1 and then Gillespie and Gallus in game week 2. So I've been carrying through with 11. There's lots of stories out there of people that have had similar to usage. So yeah, I wouldn't be against you taking a -4 or a -8 and overhauling that midfield and binning Sahara off as a starting point. But
I'll be honest with you. Yeah, it's just it's the time to figure it out in amongst everything else that's going on. But now I think we're rocking and rolling. I'm going to have a little bit more time.
The guys, have done astonishingly well in terms of their setup.
Super job.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
You were taken aback when you saw that sheet, weren't you?
Yeah, just the fact, I say it's something stupid, but the fact that it works, it does what it needs to do very well, and it's clear and easy. And I have to admit, I'm not scared to admit, I haven't spent the most amount of time on it, but there we go. So I'll have a little bit more now.
They were thinking, they said last night that they thought they'd probably have an interest of about 50 or so. You know,
what? Nah, come on.
Yeah, so
really?
For them to have there's 1,500 odd players playing. Half the people who are listening to this podcast will be playing, if not more.
Yeah.
So,
mate, James,
great.
you doffed my cap to your live stream last Wednesday. I told you offline, and I said to my missus, there's nothing wrong in this world, because there's 200 people watching James live. James, who, for all intents and purposes, we're not sports broadcasters, professional sports broadcasters. We're just geezers on YouTube talking about a fantasy football guessing game based on a simulation.
It's mad, isn't it?
On a Wednesday night, there's 200 people tuning in. I was like, this is the world today, and it's just incredible. But the engagement and the interaction on the streams has been incredible. I think it's almost, you're thinking this is a lot of work to jump on for 2 hours, but it keeps you engaged and motivated to want to do even more.
The one I did on Saturday was harder because it was only 6 fixtures rather than 9.
Yeah, of course.
But Wednesday night's 9 fixtures again. I mean, in theory, you can probably expect a goal on average every sort of 3 or 4 minutes or so. So you just wing it. There's no plan or anything. I go in and I start before the game start, and I do a little detail on the team lineups and that, any significant changes, etc. And then we just go live. And if there's empty space, we just pick up the comments in the chat.
I did see someone, where's Cammy? saying, "Where's Cammy bracket Suj to your Jeff Stelling?" So I haven't got up to speed on this yet, but one day we'll see.
Maybe
Maybe
eventually
going.
we can sit next to each other and do this live
Yeah,
stream before it
touch wood.
finishes.
I'll do a Cammy. I saw the best Chris Kamara clip ever, where Jeff went to him once and goes, "There's been a red card at Stoke."
We were talking about it on Saturday stream. It's 10 years on Saturday. On Saturday was 10 years to the day, apparently, from that Portsmouth red card. Yeah,
brilliant. That's but that is exactly what I would do.
You get paid one job, go and watch a game of football, and there's a red card and you've missed it. Only Chris Kamara.
But it
Hilarious.
wasn't even the fact. It's just the way he was. Is
it?
Chris Kamara. Yeah. So one day, let me get my rank sorted and my team sorted, and we'll think about it. Yes, but yeah, I just haven't been on the Twitter that much. So to anybody that has tweeted me or added me, literally not looked into the notifications for the last 2 weeks at all. It's just been a busy time trying to sort work out with COVID. But I do feel like we're in a state where we're kind of semi-organised. I've got a bit more time on my hands to look at Champ Manager. And maybe even if you're lucky, I'll jump back on Twitter to all the listeners. So if you have tweeted, atted me, and I haven't responded, just don't take offence.
Oh, you need to get on your Twitter.
Oh, is there?
There's been lots of that in Suj and Shah, yeah.
Okay. I'll spend a day on it this week, and I'll get back to everybody.
I don't think you need a day. An hour should cover you off, mate.
There's only 6 people then.
Meanwhile, I'll keep the Planet FPL account going.
Of course.
Should we do some Twitter cues, Suj?
We should, because I think there's been some good ones. There's going to be a few that are finance related, and we've had quite a bit of a discussion around money and what have you as well. I have to say, James, I think I look quite good in a suit. Thanks for the picture.
Oh, that's Corf FPL. So the graphic, I've kind of edited the graphic, but the original graphic of my head on Jeff Stelling, and then later Suj's head on Jeff Stelling, is courtesy of a Corf FPL.
Nice.
Really cool lad.
I thought you'd picked up some Photoshop skills, and that was...
Don't be stupid. Mate, people telling me, James, when you do your live stream, get the graphics up with scores on that. I'm like, wow, you lot are lucky that my Wi-Fi now holds. That's the only thing that matters.
Yeah.
Twitter cues, Suj. Let's go.
There's only one place to start. This needs some real explanation.
Go.
Planet FPL Wifey. When will you admit
my God.
lionfish is an invasive species? What the...
We had a row on Saturday night. It's probably the first real argument that we had. It wasn't an argument. It wasn't like, I'm leaving you, love.
It was a debate.
Yeah, a heated debate. A heated debate about, what is it? Lionfish or something?
Yeah, it's an invasive species.
She was watching some shit on Nat Geo, and it's this giant fish is just eating all the fish. Okay. Apparently it fell out of an aquarium a few years ago in California or something. And now there's loads of them all over the world, and they're affecting fish, apparently, because they just eat all the smaller fish. And there's nothing else, because it stays low. I don't know what you call it, in the rough shit at the bottom of the sea or something. The whales and the sharks and all that don't go near it. So these big-ass fish, and they are massive, mate, are just cleaning up these little fish, and they're worried that it's affecting life down there, and other fish are now becoming endangered species. But my point was, why we had the argument was, I was saying, surely this fish's natural habitat is from the sea. It's a fish. It wasn't made by like a real lion fucking a fish. It was a fish, right? So it has every right to be in the sea as well. So, you're right, if it's eating other fish, it's a problem. But isn't that natural as well? And she was saying, no, because it fell out of an aquarium. I'm like, so if it started in an aquarium, where did it come from in the first place? It must have come from the sea. It didn't just dry up on land, or do you know what I mean? So I was like,
so now all the listeners want to know one thing is, when are you going to live stream your Saturday nights with your missus rather than Champ Man? Seems way more interesting.
I can't even, was it lionfish or fish lion?
Lionfish.
Lionfish. Dumb word, man. But to be fair, I was watching it, and you get it wasn't like Attenborough, but you get the little commentary. And the fish swoops down and gets its prey really fast. I'm watching it, I'm going, this damn big ass thing is moving about 1 mile an hour. And then it just hovered over the fish and then it was like magic, mate.
Hoovered them up, did it?
The fish just disappeared, mate. You didn't even see him eat it. The fish just disappeared.
Oh.
So yeah, lionfish, fish line, whatever.
Let's go to Amber. Amber, you go up first or second now. Well, James's missus went first, but you get your question early this episode. How long do you think before we see a woman managing a Premiership men's team? Will it ever happen?
If somebody's good enough, yeah, but I think we are an extremely long way away from that. There was some rumours last summer, wasn't there, about the Chelsea ladies manager? Forgive me, I can't remember her name. But it was some talk about her getting the job, which, I mean, I don't know how well that would have gone down. I think people generally are probably not ready for that. I'm not saying it shouldn't happen. If she's good enough, then yeah, great. But I think we're a way away from that. I think there's counterproductive issues in terms of dressing rooms and stuff like that and how it might be perceived. We probably need a lower level first. You know what I mean? Like a lady gets a job.
I don't think there's
or something first.
Look, I mean, you've got men managing women's teams in like Neville, right, with the ladies' team. So I don't think this dressing room, changing room thing is going to be an issue. You just hit the nail on the head. Until we see it at a lower league level, it's not going to filter up to the top. Like, it's not going to be suddenly dropped straight into the Premier League. You're going to want to see success. At the end of the day, 2 arms, 2 legs, and we've all got the same brain, right? So there's nothing, I don't think there's anything to stop a woman being capable of managing a men's football team. But for me, I don't see it not in the Premier League anyway, for at least 30, 40 years.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, we've still got massive problems with black and ethnic minorities getting managerial jobs anyway. So,
yeah.
I mean, it's not just the case of women. It was just something that kind of got mentioned last year with the Chelsea ladies manager. But I think, yeah, you need to see it at a lower level first. I think Stimpson, who was England manager before, wasn't he, of the ladies team? I think he went and helped out at Stevenage, maybe, or he may have even taken the job. Didn't go very well. The women's game is obviously very different to the men's for a number of reasons. We've obviously seen, there's a lot of people calling for Phil Neville's head now from the ladies' team because he thinks like they haven't progressed them. I suppose Hope Powell was the England manager before. It's just not progressed at all. So I think we need to see it at a lower level first. I think if ladies wanted to pursue that and get into the men's game in terms of men's coaching, men's management, they'll be better off probably doing it outside of England first. Probably in countries that would be more open to that idea, perhaps like Scandinavia or Germany or something like that. And then eventually, I wouldn't say it's not something that could happen. Why has Amber come with such a serious question? Thanks, Amber.
Chris Tellez, Jumbo in Nairobi. How are you, mate? What are your favourite football-related moments outside of the clubs you both support? Also hope you're both doing well and keeping safe, and thanks for entertaining everyone in the community. We appreciate your support. Favourite football-related moments outside of the clubs you both support?
None. Scrooge. Aguero's the first one that comes to mind, if I'm honest.
Okay, you've attacked the question from a completely different angle from me. Yeah, I agree with you in terms of like that goal. Aguero is definitely
and anything with Messi.
Leicester winning the title. Just the Ranieri and Wes Morgan lifting that title and just the place erupting and just Leicester winning the title for a fan of a club like West Ham who are so far away from it or similar club, you'd say, giving everybody hope and giving all the big boys a slap in the face for me is probably well up there. Leicester winning the title for me is the one that I really, really enjoyed. And do you know what I like seeing outside of just football that's not football is when you see players doing very simple human things that go to show that they are just human beings at the end of the day, right? I saw little videos like Sadio Mane the other day gets off the Senegal team bus or whatever, all the players are filtering off. He stops and helps the kit guy carry bags into the locker room or whatever. And you see stuff like that and you're like, you know what, footballers are at the end of the day just people. They're not superheroes or made of Teflon that you can just throw shit at them and it won't stick or whatever.
I really thought you were going to say when I see nice things like footballers taking 30% wage cuts and stuff like that.
No, I'm not getting into that. We've already done that. And FPL Chancer did talk about that. Premier League footballers are getting a lot of heat from politicians, etc. Do you think they should make a gesture or be down to the employers to manage? I just think it's personal choice. Do what you got to do or what you want to do.
I think the clubs probably can't enforce it. It's probably part of the problem.
No.
You can't, because then you actually start discriminating footballers then against other workforce. And we know they're unique and they shouldn't be compared to me, you and listener. But then actually it becomes, I think of a different term to racist. What's the word I'm looking for, Suj?
Discriminatory.
Thank you. Yeah, it does become discriminatory, yeah. So it can't come through the clubs.
No, you know the interesting thing that the government with the furlough scheme for the government, there's a cap on the amount of money. I think that someone's salary has to be gross £2,500 a month. But the second element of it is that people can't work during furlough, right? That if you furlough them, it's because you don't have any work for them. So if you furloughed all the players, and you said, right, you're only getting £2,500 a month, but also you can't work, which means you can't train. Which one of those is going to come back as the biggest, fattest guy in the world? Because they can't train technically.
Are you bringing Ndombele back into this conversation?
No, we've already had that one.
I hope he comes back and tears it up, Tanguy.
Let's talk a question. We got a question from Frode Halvorsen, and he did tweet us and say that I did a fantastic job of pronunciation. Thank you, Frode. A lot of good players from other countries have failed in the Premier League. Your thoughts?
Say that again.
A lot of good players from other countries have failed in the Premier League. Your thoughts?
Say it.
Yeah, just what are your thoughts? It's just open for discussion.
Does he mean like specific players from specific countries, or?
Nah, just outside of the UK. The People's Poll, I noticed that the best Premier League 11, not of European, didn't win, unfortunately.
Yeah, they're going to regret what they picked, but let's see what we do tomorrow.
Oh, dear.
I don't know.
Mark Noble in central midfield, yeah, probably.
I don't know. No, he ain't inside that. I don't know if it's referred to in some way about certain nationalities who struggle. So it always feels like Brazilians have always been generally, we know we've had success stories like Edison and Alisson now and Juninho at Middlesbrough, but generally Brazilian players have generally quite failed in the Premier League, I would say. I don't know if
Robinho and
I don't
absolute
know if it's
talent, but
I don't know if it's referenced in that way a little bit. I don't know.
I mean, our game is very unique compared to the rest of European football and world football. The pace it's played at, the pressure and intensity is definitely very different to how many other clubs play, countries play. Really. Yeah, so that's got to have a big part of it. John G, Grifters United, with my keen eye for finance, which clubs face a financial meltdown when the global as well as local impact of the lack of income comes into play? Going to be a few fire sales once the window opens. Are you worried about Spurs in new ground crippling things for you guys? It's going to be very, very tough for top to bottom. But I think a lot of what happens in terms of the meltdown is going to be dictated by how quickly the season starts, which we don't know, and then what is the impact on sponsorship and TV. The wages is one thing, and gate receipts is all well and good as well. Clubs do make a reasonable amount of income from gate receipts and food sales and beer and what have you. But the sponsorship and the TV rights, if they pull that money, then I don't think there's any club that is immune to financial difficulty, unless you've got billionaire owners.
Which is why the season will finish no matter what, I think, as well. We've spoke previously about the enormity of the potential compensation that could be owed to sponsors and the likes if this football season is not completed. And then they can take away next season the shit that's going to impact them less, like the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup, if that's what it comes to. And I know that's going to make a lot of people unhappy if it comes to that, but if that's what needs be for 1 year of football, then I think that's what it will be. The Premier League will get the priority. In terms of specific club, I'm not worried about Spurs. The thing with a club like Spurs as well is like the assets, right? I mean, the asset of that stadium now, they haven't sold the naming rights yet, so there's potential extra revenue streams there. I know, I think Claret FPL was in the responses saying that the Burnley chairman had said that if they stood to lose 50 million or so, they'd be in trouble. But he was backing it up and saying he's got no concerns. I think even take a club of Bournemouth size, you'd be concerned of, but I don't think they're short of money behind the scenes. That's what's needed. And at the end of the day, as much as we did say when we did the Man City pod about FFP and all that, like FFP is not going to get penalised if it's going to mean saving a football club and investment coming from outside, right? So those kind of laws are all going to become a little bit lenient in the next few years. I'd probably be more concerned about clubs who perhaps had a certain amount of money coming into the football club and then it was suddenly lost. So I wouldn't worry about Arsenal, but what I mean by that is that if you take them as an example, that obviously had Champions League football for 20 odd years in a row successfully, then we're kind of remodeling themselves a little bit to try and get themselves back into it. Now you're taking away potentially the Europa League money, which is, it's a fraction of the Champions League money, but suddenly what they're budgeted for in terms of some of the wages like Ozil, etc., is probably excessive. They're not in any trouble. I'm just using an example like them who maybe need to look at it differently from what they were more accustomed to, if that makes sense. So like even Villa, if Villa went back down to the Championship, I'd be worried about them. But again, apparently these Chinese owners have got a lot. So if they need to pump it into the club, they will. So I think football, in terms of the clubs, from top all the way down to obviously when we did the non-league pod, they're in a better status than I thought they were. My major concerns are the ones in the middle around about League One and that, because of players' salaries in terms of how long it goes on for. They're my greatest worry.
I think the thing with football clubs as well is that whilst they're in competition, they're still in the same industry. So you need your tiers of football. Clubs need each other to exist, right? Manchester United wouldn't be Manchester United without Man City and Liverpool down the road and what have you. When you look at certain industries like the airline industry where everyone's screwed as well, they're all in competition, Virgin, BA, whatever. They'd be happy if the other went bust. They're laughing all the way to the bank. Whereas in football, you ain't going to be happy if Liverpool go bust or City go bust or whatever. It just doesn't make sense for the global game. So I think football's in a different boat where everybody will club together to help each other, whereas other industries, like if you're going bust, mate, see you later. Take that as an opportunity. So it'll be interesting to see. Let's move on to something.
I think just to add on that quickly, Suj, I think the Premier League clubs together have already made a payment of 125 million down into the EFL and the National League. So that's something they normally do as part of solidarity payments, I think is what they call them. But whatever was going to be like next year's or something, it's been paid now.
That's good. Right, FPL Thomas, if you and I were to adopt FPL names, what would we be? You know, like on Twitter, like FPL, he's FPL Thomas, but he thinks, but we can't be FPL Suj, can't be FPL James, and can't be FPL Planet. Who would you be?
FPL, not the expert.
I'd be FPL Leroy Sané. Nah, I know I'd be FPL Indian De Bruyne.
It'd be too long, mate. Indian KDB. I think you'd be FPL Loose Cannon.
Loose Cannon.
Yeah.
That one, but now I want to be FPL Indian De Bruyne, but we'll see. James has said FPL Loose Cannon. Who would you FPL not the expert?
Yeah, what would you call me?
FPL, this is a long one as well, James, but I'd probably shorten it. FPL Encyclopedia Britannica. FPL Football Britannica. Something along those lines. FPL Encyclopedia. That's what.
At the FPL Encyclopedia.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, cool.
Just because your knowledge is so deep, James, goes back a long way. And some would say useless, but you know.
Yes, I'd realise a lot of what happens in my brain is just empty space for football knowledge, which is of no use to anybody, except when we have guests on doing quizzes, but I'll save that reveal till Wednesday.
Indeed. Jimmy Mac and Cheese, if Premier League clubs were fast food chains, which would be which and why?
I meant to give this more thought. I tell you
I've
what.
got a few for this.
Well, let me do Spurs first, then you can go on to loads. Or have you got one for Spurs?
Nah, I got one for Spurs. Yeah.
All right. I decided Spurs would be the local kebab.
Okay.
Because it's never a good idea, but at the time it does feel like a good idea. And when you're eating it at the start, you feel like it's going to make you happy. And then at the end, you're like, why did I do that? And then the next morning, you're definitely like, well, why did I do that? But a couple of weeks later, I'll still go again.
Mm.
So Spurs are the lamb Donna, mate.
For you, definitely, because you keep going back.
Yeah.
I've got Arsenal down as KFC.
Go on.
Well, it's the ratio of eating to shitting is 20. So Arsenal played 2 good games and won their absolute shit. But KFC, I'll spend 20 minutes enjoyably eating it and 10 minutes needing a dump afterwards, which is 2-1. So Arsenal or KFC, 2-1, 100%.
Okay, yeah.
Sheffield United.
Oh, go on.
Spud you like.
What's that?
Spud you like, exactly. So when I was growing up, and people that are late 30s, early 40s remember a place called Spud You Like. It was a fast food place for jacket potatoes. You used to get a jacket potato with whatever. In the last couple of years, they've started popping up again. Very few here and there, but they disappeared for about 25 years.
No, I see where you're going now. Yeah.
Now they're back. So
Okay.
Spud You Like is definitely Sheffield United.
Okay. You can maybe throw Wolves into that one as well, maybe.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
But I've only noticed Spud You Like in the last 12 months, so that's why Sheffield United are back.
Right, okay.
Bang. What other fast food is there? You got McDonald's, been around.
Nando's. I was thinking Man City might be like Nando's.
Yeah. Definitely not worth the 15 quid that it costs. But it used to be good value about 5 or 6 years ago, where you used to be able to get in and out and eat in under a tenner, but now it's a little bit too expensive.
Man United's McDonald's.
Yeah, been around forever.
Always be the biggest, but maybe not the best.
Yeah, true. That's a good way of putting them. Definitely. That's a good one. I was trying to think of one for Burger King. The thing with Burger King is they're good, but they only appear from time to time. It's not like they're everywhere. So I didn't know who's really good, but we don't see them often enough.
Well, it's been 30 years for Liverpool, mate. I don't know.
We'll see.
Who would be like a salad?
West Ham United. Very satisfying.
Okay.
Very unsatisfying for me. We got B James FPL _mindset. Have you guys been making weekly transfers on FPL at the moment, or have you just ignored it? Are you surprised at the amount of transfers and price changes that have been happening? Ignored. I haven't done anything.
Hold on. No, there is something to say here. Did you see how many price changes there were on Saturday night?
Yes, and you were telling me that people didn't realise that it was international.
Oh, no, so that was last week,
before
wasn't
was
it?
Friday night. Yeah.
No, but this Saturday gone, which would have been for game week 36, 36 price changes.
Wow.
So they've obviously done something on the algorithms where it's based on percentage of transfers or something. It's got to be.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Or they've gone, look, just give everyone a rise and fall so it looks like we're still doing something. I don't know. To be honest, yes, I have been making transfers. Yeah, Suj won't recognise the differential team. But I'm fixing it up now to get like Kane and Son and Rashford all in there, just in case we do play football again, because there'll be great differentials. So
and don't leave some space for Leroy Sané, mate.
Yeah, maybe. So yes, I have, but I think it's a complete waste of time. I don't think that the game that we're playing now will restart. I think there will be a separate game for the final 10 game weeks of the season, and then it will go back to normal. I really don't think it matters. I've been doing it just on the off chance, but I don't think it matters. And I've been spending about 2 minutes full on it. There's no point.
Right. B James FPL also asked another question. Let's get through some of these nice and quick now, James. If English football was cancelled forever, which foreign team would you start to follow and why?
I wouldn't.
Would there be no English football?
Well, then I don't support anyone.
You just leave it out?
No. I would. The only one, I'd be tempted to go and follow Barcelona.
Really?
Yeah. But only because I've done this before years ago on pods. There's links between Tottenham and Barcelona which go back to when I first started going to football with like Venables, Lineker, Naeem and stuff like that. And then later on, so you kind of followed them. Like when I was first a kid, I followed out for Lazio's results because of Gascoigne and stuff.
Yep.
Now I know they're a bunch of racists and I wouldn't go anywhere near them. Yeah, I suppose Barca, you could go out and live in Barca, couldn't you? There's worse lives you could have.
True. I would support Racing Santander.
That famous bank.
My younger brother, when he was at school, had a Spanish exchange student come over. Guillaume, as in Guillaume.
Guillaume.
I can't pronounce it very well. My Spanish is shit.
No comprendo.
So he was from Santander, and we went to watch quite a few footy games together and that, and he was a good kid, nice guy. So I would support his team because, I mean, why not? Better than any other. Ian A. Davis is asking about whether politicians and other people should take pay cuts. Something we talked about money enough. And FPL JB Bailey, what's my take on the economy? And if the economy will bounce back quickly? I mean, it's the biggest guessing game ever, right? It's more of a guessing game than FPL.
Suj is an optimist. That's all I will tell the listeners.
Look, every day there's 3 questions, right? Have we hit the rock bottom of lockdown? How long will rock bottom last for, and how quick will we recover? And I still haven't got an answer to any of those. But as and when I do, I'm going to put it out on Twitter. I have to say there's still movement in the economy. I feel like if you'd have spoken to me 2.5 weeks ago, I was more pessimistic. As time is going on and things are still moving, I think we will bounce back. Not quickly, but should we come out of lockdown, say at the end of April or beginning of May, middle of May, I think come Christmas we'll be recovered. I think Christmas will be the time where everybody's still back to spending money again and that kind of thing. So
yeah. The upside is for businesses, be it pubs, restaurants, etc., that survive, is when we're all in a good place. People are going to want to go out more than they did
straight
before,
away,
right?
Like so many mates that I haven't seen. That what's the first thing we want to do? Get down to the pub and have a pint with them.
Christmas is an example you use where a majority of people in this country are going to want to make it more important than they have done previously, for example, because I think the things in life that you would have taken for granted, people won't so much now, because we've got to realise that we're in a situation at the moment that 6 months ago was all completely unthinkable to just about every single one of us, right?
Definitely. Ian A. Davis, have you seen the new match of the day? Do you like it?
So they're pre-recorded podcasts. I mean, it's debatable, but Ian Wright's funny on it. He was talking about, I did watch it the other night. He was talking about his battles with Peter Schmeichel. Was quite amusing. Is it better than ours? No.
The only thing is they got to play a little bit of.
But it is the nice bit about it is not when, say, Lineker, Shearer and Wright are talking about the merits of who's better out of Ederson and Alisson. Like, anyone can have that conversation. It's more like the little bits, like when, say, Ian Wright's talking about Schmeichel or Gary Lineker's talking about things I didn't know about, say, David Seaman and stuff like that. That's more interesting.
Clean sheet wipeout FPL. Clean sheet wipeout FPL on Twitter. With all the throwbacks to seasons passed around at the moment, whether it be Champ Manager FPL or Match of the Day or Premier League years, what would be each of your favourite Premier League seasons gone by and reasons why?
Well, I'd pick a Spurs one, which would be 16-17, just because that team for 4 months was so phenomenal to watch. So that would be my favourite. We finished on plus 60 goal difference. But I think otherwise, I'd probably say when Newcastle went close, 95, 96, just because it felt like a really big race with that Keegan Newcastle. And you kind of knew that Ferguson's United were going to get them. I think City United, the first time in 12, which finished with obviously the incredible Aguero climax, was a great season. 02-03 was good. United and Arsenal had a very good battle that season as well. It was a good season.
Personally, for me, the last season at the Bowling was West Ham's best season in the Premier League. I think that was really enjoyable. Took a few big scalps that season as well, so that was really enjoyable. I always go back to teams individually rather than battles. So Arsenal's invincible season, I used to just love to watch, or City a couple of seasons ago when they just destroyed everyone. I just want to just sit and watch them. I didn't.
But they're just
competitive.
Yeah, you're looking at it differently. It's interesting that, because when you think best seasons, I think about the ones that had the best title
challenges.
Yeah.
I look at where was the football the most beautiful, and that was when some of these teams were just.
That 03 season I mentioned, United and Arsenal, for example, was the year you went up against Bolton, and the pair of you kept winning every week at the end. Like, never seen a relegation fight like it.
Yeah.
So that was at both ends right till the end and that. So I remember those more than, the seasons like when United won the title by like 12, 13 points and that. They don't live in the memory. Of United's title wins, I think probably like 99, again, when they held off Arsenal on the final day and that. They're the ones that tend to remember more.
A quick fire question here, because it's definitely quick fire from me. FPL_Tractor, have either of you watched Sunderland Till I Die 2? What did you think? Watched it, so can't comment.
No, I haven't, but I know
it's trying to stick it down my throat quite a bit, so I may watch it. You planning on watching it?
No, but I probably will listen to Tom, Nick and Stag's podcast on it, because I think that's what they're recording on today, is that actually. So
okay. Fair play.
But yeah, Sunderland Football Club, I mean, there's many a podcast in that. But on this one, I'm going to leave it to the three boys there. They're covering that if you want some FPL opinions on that.
Benny Blanco, due to the success of the Champ Manager FPL game, what do you think of the idea of continuing the simulation into future off-seasons? Obviously, this would depend on whether the guys would want to carry it on or what have you.
It's up to the guys, and it probably depends where we're at on football. So
it wouldn't surprise me if somebody came in, not to say these guys are not doing it professionally, but actually built a whole website and a system around it.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, it's. I think James Lapham probably can build it, actually. Sounds like that fellow would give Manchild a run for his money, mate. I'm not sure about future seasons. This season...
As off-seasons, though, I think Benny's talking about like summer downtime, right?
Yeah, maybe, but then does that work in, say, next year we're going to have like European Championships and that, touch wood. So you're going to get the same interest then. I don't know. I think it's novel. Let's see where we stand at the end. The guys have done great. I don't know about carrying on into future seasons when then suddenly you've got players who are completely playing for different clubs and stuff. I think you probably need to buy the next game and start again.
Yeah, start fresh. We were talking about your live stream and stuff. And when I turned to my missus and I said, one of the funny things is James is talking about all these goals that different players are scoring. You can't watch them. It's not like you can go back and goal because we don't even know what the goal looked like. Even more random. FPL Teach Mode has come in with a question. Which team do you think is most likely to break up the Man City Liverpool title in the next few years?
Chelsea.
Do you think so?
Just because the amount of youthfulness in the squads, that if they can keep it all together at some point, it will be a very, very good team. They'll need to add some star quality, but in terms of potential to break it up, probably them, and then obviously United's money.
Yeah, I was going to suggest United really comes to mind because they're going to spend big. If they get Sancho and sign Pogba for a bit longer and he builds a relationship with Bruno Fernandes, United actually really coming strong. And I think Arsenal have always had talent. It's just they've never had the mentality to maybe see it through. Saliba, their defender, he's supposed to have had a good season having gone back on loan in France. So if he comes back and gives them some stability in defence, then Arsenal always can score goals. So I think of the top six, it's Spurs, unfortunately, the ones that are miles apart.
I think the next 5 years are particularly important for probably Arsenal and Tottenham in terms of, it's not what either set of support will want to hear, but it's probably important just to hang on with the other four in the short term and hold off the fight of Everton going into a new stadium, Leicester's quality, Wolves' emergence, etc. If Villa can get themselves back in a strong place, Sheffield United, whatever. It's probably more important for Arsenal and Tottenham. It's kind of an undercurrent of that story that they have to hang on. I should mention your own club as well, to be fair, Suj. An undercurrent that they've got to hang on to that top six because they can blink and it goes wrong and suddenly they're in that position where they're like a Newcastle and they've got 50,000 in the ground every week. It doesn't matter. It's never really going anywhere. I think that the difference where Arsenal and Spurs won't fall into that trap is the money generated through being London club, etc. means that they'll always be at that kind of point at the moment. And it's why I actually think, Suj, that in the longer term, West Ham can push towards that for similar reasons. I think fast forward 20 years to now, it wouldn't shock me if in 20 years from now, Tottenham, Arsenal, Chelsea, West Ham were the top four in the league. I know that feels a long way off right now, but it wouldn't shock me.
Glenn at Glenn S378. If you could see any team League One or below, break into the Premier League in the coming years. Who is best placed to do it? I'm going to
League One or below.
Yeah, I don't really follow League One. And
in terms of size of club, he's actually Sunderland, isn't it? For the size of the club, it's just the ownership and etc. is such a mess. Portsmouth, I think, are slowly building a bit of a comeback, maybe from that level. So they would probably be the ones
to come through. FPL Canada, from the beginnings of FPL to today, who's the greatest of all time when you consider price to points?
A difficult one to answer because I've not played the game for long enough.
Riyad Mahrez and
the thing is as well, you've got obviously changing prices. So like Kane's real breakout season, he was like 5 million, wasn't he? So you look at him that season, and the same with like Jamie Vardy and Riyad Mahrez the following season. But then obviously the year after that, then they were obviously big, massive prices. So I'm not sure the answer to that. It's actually probably some of the best captains like Salah, Suarez, Robin Van Persie. They're actually, in terms of if you're captain them regularly, half the value twice. Yeah.
Salah's first season, there were a number of people that owned him the entire season. I jumped on a little bit late with Salah that year because it was just a case of how long is this going to keep going for. But what did he start that season at? 8-9 million, something around that?
Salah?
Yeah. His breakthrough season.
9 or 9.5.
Very cheap, considering it was the number of points he scored in the end. What did he get?
I think 9, actually, on reflection, maybe.
And if you're then captaining that guy week in, week out, I mean, you're talking best part of 600.
Phenomenal.
Very, very good.
So actually, probably him.
Without a doubt. Lighty_FPL. The best book about soccer. Player, league, season, era, any of them? Just because he's thinking about buying a book about football. To be honest, I haven't read many football books.
I prefer pictures, personally. The book I always used to read as a kid, I remember, it was a massive book, huge book that my dad had, which was detailed reports on all Spurs' European games. It only went up from like obviously when Spurs first got in '61 up to 1984. I used to read that book like every other month, over and over. So that's the Glory Nights. It was called. It obviously needs a lot of updating now. Someone's got an idea and wants to reproduce that. Crack on.
If I was going to pick a book to read, if there's any football manager or someone's story that I wanted to look at, I'd go with Bobby Robson. Sir Bobby Robson. I think he just came across as such a gentleman, worldly. I bet he's got some stories to tell. Him or Harry Redknapp, because Harry Redknapp's always got a story or two to tell about this, that, and the other.
Did you see Harry Redknapp's story the other week about when he reckons he had Shevchenko on trial at West Ham?
Nah.
But he doesn't know if it was Shevchenko.
That's why Harry Redknapp would be a great one to chat.
I thought £1 million was too much for him. They had him on trial.
What was apparently, he, like 18, 19,
he knew people in the Ukrainian mafia or something, and they sent some guys over, and this one kid up front was unbelievable. But he doesn't actually know if it was Shevchenko or not.
Well, you guys had Shev as strike partner in Red Rob for a while, didn't you?
Yeah, part of the Champ Man game now. Yeah, never as a Spurs signing underwhelmed as much as that. And do you know what? It wasn't that he didn't put the effort in or anything. It wasn't that you couldn't see he did have good technical quality. It just didn't happen for him.
Our last question coming in from Christoph Sam with 2 Fs, 2 Ms. Hope you're well, Christoph. A couple of questions. James, who are your top 5 best players in the Champ Man game right now?
Veron, Van Nistelrooy, Henry, Viduka, Shearer.
And who are your top 5 players you hated to see your Spurs team go up against?
What, as in opposition players? I think of the ones that used to scare me. So, I mean, the majority of that sort of between Arsenal 98, 04, Henry, Anelka, Overmars. Jesus, was he quick. Perez,
lightning.
Perez always scored against us, and Vieira just used to bully us.
Vieira bosses games.
The one that frightened me the most outside of Arsenal, when it frightened me more because it was them, was Hazard. When we played them, the game was shown on BT Sport yesterday, actually, I think, when we beat them 5-3 New Year's Day, when Kane got about a 19-point FPL return as a 5 million forward. mate, Hazard nearly won that game for them on his own. Like, he was the best player on the pitch.
Mm.
We beat him 5-3.
Well, quite often he was.
Give me the
wasn't
shitters. Give me the shitters, mate. We were winning like 4-1. And I remember thinking, this guy can beat us on his own.
he?
Frightening. When he was at his top, he was a brilliant footballer. Ronaldo developed far better when he left Manchester United. He was obviously a phenomenon when he left. But Hazard actually frightened me more. Now, the only thing he frightens at Madrid is the canteen, I think.
So, that's all the Twitter questions, James.
Nice.
And that's a show. We've been chatting for long enough. I know people are bored and don't have much to go on, but we can't monopolise all their time. They're going to have to listen to Tom, Nick and Stag talk about Sunderland till I die and all the other content that's coming out. This week, we still have, James, People's Poll tomorrow.
People's Poll tomorrow. You have voted for it.
Uncapped England 11 ever.
Yeah, and guess what? It's tough. It's when I put it in the poll and then saw it was winning, I started making up a team, and it's bloody harder than I thought it was. My gosh. There's going to be some players tomorrow that you've probably never heard of.
We have a quiz on Wednesday, and the quiz this week is hosted and provided by none other than the Mayor of FPL, Tom Utterly TC. So that's definitely one to tune in and have a listen to. I'm not going to tell you the theme because it'll only give you sneaky buggers 24 hours to research or 48 hours.
We didn't know it.
No, we didn't. So why should you?
We suffered.
So we're not going to do that.
He's probably one that might be worth a watch on YouTube, just so you can see my reactions as Tom reads questions, and I ain't got a clue.
On Thursday, we're looking back to the 1994, well, it had been over 93, 94 qualifying campaign for the World Cup in the USA. Old Turnip himself and what have you, with England failing to qualify for a major tournament. And we'll have a look back at that team and what went wrong.
The national press wouldn't be coining Turnip now, mate. He's remembered very fondly, but was unfortunately incredibly hated at that time, Graham Taylor.
And in amongst that, Wednesday night you're streaming Champ Manager. Friday you're going to stream again.
Yeah, and probably Saturday.
So for James's live streams, you need to head over to YouTube. If you subscribe to the channel, and not only subscribe to the channel, there's a little bell that you need to ding, ding, and that
ding, 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 ding.
Pop up on your phone or wherever else you subscribe to let you know when he is going live. I mean, we try and fix the times, but James got a little one indoors as well, so sometimes it needs to move a little bit. If you're subscribed and you hit the notification bell, you'll get alerted straight away. And do the same on Twitter as well, and that way when he tweets that he's going live, you'll know about it as well. So there you go. Hit like, hit subscribe, share the podcast, wash your hands, stay safe. Our love goes out to you all. Ciao for now.
Be nice to each other. Cue music, man. Ciao.